Have you ever heard a story so strange, so unbelievable, that it sounds like fiction? Today, we read diving into one of history's most baffling and enduring unsolved mysteries, the disappearance of the entire Roanoke colony. This isn't just a ghost story whispered around a campfire. It's a real-life historical puzzle that has stumped historians and archaeologists for over 400 years. What happened to more than 100 men, women, and children who seemingly vanished into thin air? Let's travel back in time and uncover the clues. Our story begins in 1587. England, under Queen Elizabeth I, is eager to establish a foothold in the New World to compete with the Spanish Empire. Sir Walter Raleigh, a dashing courtier and explorer, sponsors an ambitious expedition to establish the first permanent English colony in North America. He sends a group of 117 colonists, including families, which was a first to settle on Roanoke Island, located in what is now North Carolina. Their leader is a man named John White, who is also an artist tasked with documenting the new land, its people, and its resources. Among the colonists are his own daughter, Eleanor Dare, and her husband, Ananias Dare. Shortly after their arrival, Eleanor gives birth to a baby girl named Virginia Dare, the very first English child born in the Americas. It's a moment of hope, a symbol of a new beginning. But the new beginning was fraught with challenges. The colonists arrived too late in the season to plant crops for a successful harvest, and their supplies started to run dangerously low. Their relationship with the local Native American tribes, like the Croatoan and the Secotans, was tense and complicated. Some interactions were friendly, but misunderstandings and previous hostile encounters by earlier English expeditions had sown seeds of mistrust. Realizing their survival was at stake without immediate help, the colonists persuaded their governor, John White, to sail back to England to gather more supplies and reinforcements. It was a difficult decision for White. He would have to leave behind his entire family, including his newborn granddaughter Virginia. But he promised he would return as quickly as possible. He set sail in late 1587, expecting to be back within a year. Unfortunately, fate had other plans. When John White arrived back in England, he found his country on the brink of war. King Philip II of Spain was preparing to launch the infamous Spanish Armada to invade England. Every available ship, including the ones White needed for his return journey to Roanoke, was commandeered for the war effort. The defense of the realm took precedence over a small, distant colony. White was trapped, desperately trying to find a way back to his family and his people, but his efforts were repeatedly thwarted. The war dragged on. What was supposed to be a one-year trip turned into an agonizing 3-year ordeal. 3 long years of not knowing if his colony, his daughter, and his granddaughter were alive or dead. Finally, in 1590, John White managed to secure passage on a ship and made his way back to Roanoke Island. He arrived on August 18th, which happened to be his granddaughter Virginia Dare's 3rd birthday. But the hope and anticipation he felt quickly turned to chilling silence and dread. The settlement was gone. The houses had been carefully dismantled, not violently destroyed. The protective palisade, or fort, that had surrounded the colony was also gone. There were no signs of a struggle, no bodies, no skeletons, nothing to suggest a battle or a massacre had taken place. It was as if the entire colony of 117 people had simply packed up and vanished. As White and his men searched the deserted settlement, they found only 2 clues. The first was the word "crow" carved into a tree near the waterfront. The second, and more significant clue, was found on one of the main posts of the former fort. Carved into the wood was a single cryptic word, Croatoan. What did it mean? Before he left, White had instructed the colonists that if they had to move, they should carve their destination into a tree or post. He also told them that if they were in distress or forced to leave, they should carve a Maltese cross above the location's name. When he found the word Croatoan, he saw no cross. This gave him a surge of hope. Croatoan was the name of a nearby island, now known as Hatteras Island, and it was also the name of a friendly Native American tribe who lived there, led by their chief Manteo, who had previously traveled to England and was an ally. White believed this was the answer. His people had simply relocated to Croatoan Island to wait for him. He was relieved. The plan was to sail south to the island the next day to reunite with his family. But once again, fate intervened. A massive storm, a hurricane, rolled in. The fierce winds and rough seas damaged their ships and made a journey to Croatoan Island impossible. With their anchors lost and the crew on the verge of mutiny, they were forced to abandon the search. Heartbroken, John White had to sail away, leaving the mystery of his colony's fate unsolved. He would never return to America, and he died years later in Ireland, never knowing what happened to his family in the lost colony. And so, the theories began. For centuries, people have tried to piece together what happened. The most optimistic and logical theory is assimilation. The colonists, facing starvation and hardship, voluntarily moved to live with the Croatoan tribe or other local groups. They integrated into their society, intermarried, and their descendants live on today among the Native American populations of North Carolina. There is some tantalizing evidence for this. Later explorers and settlers in the 17th and 18th centuries reported encountering Native Americans with gray eyes and light-colored hair, who claimed their ancestors were white people. The Lumbee tribe of North Carolina, in particular, has a strong oral tradition that they are descended from the Roanoke colonists and their Native American allies. Modern DNA testing has been attempted to prove this link, but so far, the results have been inconclusive due to the centuries of intermarriage among various groups. But there are darker theories as well. Another possibility is that the colonists were attacked and wiped out. This could have been by a hostile Native American tribe, perhaps in retaliation for past English aggressions. Or maybe it was the Spanish. The Spanish had a fort in Florida and saw the English colony as a threat to their dominance in the region. They had destroyed a French colony years earlier, so it's plausible they could have done the same to Roanoke. However, the lack of bodies or any evidence of a fight makes a massacre theory less likely. The dismantled houses suggest an organized departure, not a chaotic attack. Then there are the more far-fetched supernatural theories. Some believe the colonists were victims of a strange disease or a famine that wiped them all out, and the survivors simply buried the dead and moved on before perishing themselves. Others have floated ideas about alien abduction or a time warp, a testament to how truly baffling the disappearance is. But without concrete proof, these remain firmly in the realm of speculation. The search for answers continues even today. Archaeologists have been excavating sites on both Roanoke and Hatteras Islands. They found tantalizing clues, pottery fragments, a sword hilt, and other European artifacts from the correct time period have been discovered in the areas where Native American villages once stood. This evidence lends strong support to the assimilation theory, suggesting that at least some of the colonists went to live with their native neighbors. Recently, a project called the Lost Colony DNA Project is attempting to use genetic evidence to trace descendants of the colonists. Comparing DNA from potential relatives in England with members of American communities who believe they have Roanoke ancestry. The mystery remains officially unsolved, but each new discovery brings us a small step closer to the truth. So what do you think happened? Did the colonists find a new home with a friendly tribe, their English identities slowly fading over generations? Were they victims of a brutal attack, their story lost to the unforgiving wilderness? Or is the truth something else entirely?